Okay, so here's 5 ways to increase your bench press. Tip number 1, and probably the biggest tip, is by far your technique. So things such as leg drive and also imagining as bending the bar. So first off is leg drive. So that is when you use your legs to help push your back into the bench. So whenever the bar hits your chest, you then use your legs, drive it into the ground, and you push the bar up with your chest. A good way to try and a good cue for it is if you imagine trying to, like a quad extension, like trying to push your back, really push yourself along the bench, like slide down the bench. That is a really important way to increase your bench. So like sometimes you can add, upwards of 5 to 10 kilos on your bench once you perfect the technique. So that is by far number 1, get that sorted. The really important part of technique is to keep your elbows tucked in, like that. So a good cue for that is if you imagine yourself trying to bend the bar, like imagine trying to bend the bar in half once you have the bar out in front of you. That way you'll find your elbows will automatically kind of tuck in. Alan Thrall does a really good video on it, so if you want to know what I'm on about, check that out. Tip number 2 to increase your bench is probably your frequency. So if you're only benching twice a week, up at the 3, even 4 times a week, that way you'll see drastic differences, adding more volume by getting more sets and reps in throughout the week. And if you're only doing it once, 100% add more frequency. So for example, let's say you're doing push-pull legs. So you're doing 2 push days a week, so you're benching twice a week. Then change it to an upper lower split, where you're doing upper body 3 times a week and as well as lower body 2 times a week, so you're benching 3 times. Tip number 3 would be your rep range. This for me was so important whenever I hit plateaus. So I had done, for a beginner, I started off using 5x5 on bench and did that up to 75, 80 kilos, and then I hit a plateau, so I couldn't progressively overload anymore. So that's whenever I add 2.5 kilos on. So I found changing my rep range was really important. So I was benching 3 times a week. So my first session it was 4x8, so I was doing more reps but lower weight. My second session was 3x5, so it was kind of like the middle ground, heavier weight, lower reps but not really low. And then my third session was my heavy session, so it was 3 sets of 3. So that was whenever I would put on, if my run rate max was 90, I'd do 85 or whatever, 82.5, 85 kilograms, and that would be my heavy set. So yeah, definitely, without a doubt, changing your rep range is very important, because your body then, it adapts. If your body's used to just benching the same amount, like if I'm always doing 5x5, 5 sets of 5 reps, my body's just going to get used to it. Whereas if I'm always changing it up, like I'm doing 4x8 one week and then 5x5 or 3x5, and then the next day I'm doing 3x3, it will drastically increase because you're constantly changing. And then eventually you can start, even changing that up, like change it to 5 sets of 3. You can do 5 sets of 3. You could do 7 sets of 3 for a hiker, or 4 sets of 7. Anything, just keep changing your rep range so your body's not just getting used to a set and then hitting your plateau. Always change it. Make sure your body's always having to adapt to different rep schemes, and that will just drastically shoot up your bench. Tip number 4 is additional exercise to help with your bench. So people recommend dips, like weighted dips and a close grip bench press and tricep extensions. But for me, the main one is close grip bench press. I have found ridiculous results with close grip bench compared to the other 3 secondary exercises. It shoots up my bench every time, because I find that I'm chest dominant. So for me, hitting my triceps using close grip bench just skyrockets. A good sort of cue for your close grip bench is typically keep it about shoulder width. So you normally have one of your fingers on the rings of the bar, but if you put, I think it's your pinky on the ring, is about shoulder width. So if you have that on the ring, that's close grip. And remember as well to keep your elbows tucked. You keep them tucked in, so that will then activate the triceps even more. Some of you though may just find that you are just simply stronger with the closer grip, and if you are, then it's probably a sign of your weak chest. So I would then work on things like, if you lean forward further on dips, then you can start to work your chest muscles instead, or dumbbell flies, or anything. You can look up some exercises to help work your chest up if you find it works better close grip. And if you're the opposite, you find your chest is stronger, wider grip, then yeah, work your triceps. Like close grip bench, by far, I find works amazing for bench. And finally, tip number 5. For me, this one is also, again, the drastic one is bracing. So I use a belt. I know some people think you look like an idiot if you're benching with the belt, but personally I find it so much easier to activate my core and keep my core nice and tight, which just makes everything you feel a lot stronger. When pushing, it makes you more explosive, pushing off your chest. A good way to help you brace is if you take a deep breath in, whenever trying to unrack the bar, then you bring it out in front of you, and once it's out in front of you, you then release that breath, and then take another big breath once you're holding the bar in front of you. So you just go, and you then, as you hold it, bring the bar down and push off your chest, and you don't release that breath until you complete the rep. And as you're holding your breath, you keep your core nice and tight. And finally, for the bonus tip is, as I mentioned earlier in the video about me being chest dominant, and that's why I find close grip works really well. You might find that you're tricep dominant, so for instance, widening your grip, the wider you go out, the more your chest will come into play. So now I find that I had quite a narrow grip. I'm just outside, like maybe a hand length outside shoulder width, and I find that then to progressively get wider. At first, wider grip wasn't good for me, and then eventually after a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, my body kind of adapted to it, and then my bench just shot up as my body got used to a wider grip. So I'd experiment with your grip. Maybe go, if you are on the ring finger on the rings, then go middle finger or even index finger on the ring. You experience a wider grip as it reduces your range of motion. But yeah guys, let me know if that helped any of you on your bench. And yeah, I will hopefully see you in the next video.